Merhaba arkadaşlar. Sizlerle bu dönemin son dersini yapıyorum artık. Umarım derslerinize sıkı çalışıyorsunuzdur. Bu hafta veya gelecek haftadan itibaren de DBS üzerinden sizlere dönem sonu finalle ilgili ödevinizi vereceğim. Dolayısıyla zamanını kaçırmayınız. Tam zamanda yollayınız. Çünkü akabinde hemen bütünlemeler başlıyor biliyorsunuz. Evet, bugünkü son dersimizin konusu tarihle ilgili, klasik edebiyat dönemindeki tarihçilerle ilgili. The word history comes from the Greek historia, which meant research, investigation. So the name or the word for history comes from research or investigation. The, the Greeks, Herodotus, he is very famous historian at that time, in particular, created this discipline as we know it. Other ancient peoples had records of their past, but their style, pay attention, and philosophy differed from that of Greek historians. The Egyptian and Middle Eastern chronicles glorified dynasties by recording their deeds. Hebrew history was a form of the theology that accounted for national victories and defeats by how faithful the people were to their covenant with God. In contrast, the Greeks were the first to inquire into the past and minimize the traditional elements by stressing the importance of pay attention, rational cause and effect. They also were unique in that they applied reason, pay attention, underline reason, to contemporary events in the writing of history. In this, as in other fields, the Greek achievement was unique and profoundly influential, not only to Roman historians, but also to succeeding historians of the West. The development of history as a literary form began in Ionia. Remember the name Ionia, in the Greek cities on the western coast of Asia Minor, in our Aegean region. The port of Miletus, forget about the name of the port, had been a center of philosophical and scientific speculation since Thales, who lived around 600 BC, forget about the date. This speculation had introduced rational skepticism toward myth. İlk kez dikkat edin, mitolojiye karşı artık biraz şüphecilik uyanıyor. Which had been the prevailing version of the past in Greece for countless generations. The Ionians, dependent on trade and shipping, had opportunities to visit foreign ports and learn about different traditions. Moreover, they were subject to rule by Eastern kings, first Lydialar and then Persians, whose influences increased the cosmopolitan quality of their cities and stimulated their curiosity about foreigners. In such circumstances, it was natural for independent-minded Greeks, to question the validity of their own myths. They began to question, sorgulamaya başlıyorlar. Thus preparing the way for a secular view of history. Around 500 BC, Hecatœus of Miletus, Miletli Hecatœus, wrote his travels, a geography book containing much historical, ethnographical, and biographical material. This work undoubtedly provided a model for the earlier portions of Herodotus' histories, although only a few fragments of Hectaeus' travels have survived. Other writers, too, produced quasi-historical works, such as Ion of Chios, forget about. However, pay attention now, Herodotus was the first author to write history, as we understand it today. Herodot diye çevirmişiz Türkçe'ye. His style left a deep and lasting imprint on later historical writing. So his influence is so much important for the following centuries historians. In addition to Herodotus, another ancient historian who was influential in shaping historiography was Thucydides. He and Herodotus wrote approximately one generation apart. Herodotus from about 450 to 428, and Thucydides from 430 to 399 BC. Essentially, however, they established guideposts in research technique and in prose style for future historians to follow. So these two historians are so important for classical history. Because war usually decided whether a city or nation maintained its independence, as of course during that time there were many wars, especially with the Persians, as we covered in our previous lessons. Herodotus established war as the primary subject of historical writing, as the primary subject of historical writing. His histories presented the Greek and Persian Wars, as an epic conflict between two opposing civilizations, a conflict which proved conclusively the superiority of Greek character and institutions over those of the Persians. Herodotus' example in choosing his subject had been followed by historians from Thucydides to the present, to our time. Herodotus also showed an interest in comparative politics. What is that? An interest that became pronounced in his successors. So he was the forerunner for his successors, who often devoted long passages to analysis of political constitutions. The Greeks and Romans regarded war as an inevitability, a constant fact of life, but they also believed that governments could be changed and improved upon. In classical history, these two subjects frequently balance each other. Because Herodotus was dealing with events that had taken place 30 years nearly and more before he wrote, he often had to weigh questionable reports of what happened. Thucydides, on the other hand, in contrast, limited himself, pay attention, to events that he himself witnessed or about which he could obtain trustworthy information. Later historians also kept to contemporary or near contemporary events, or as with Livy, they borrowed from earlier writers and